All right, parents, I get it. You give your kids commands and they don't do it. And then you have to say it over and over and over and over again. And it just gets so frustrating and overwhelming. And you're like, why can't you just listen to me the first time? Why can't you just do what I need you to do? I get it. I'm a mom of 3. I understand. But here's how you do it. Ready? We're going to give you the steps first, and then I'm going to talk about why each of those steps. Okay, so the first step is go into the room where your child is at. So walk your little self to that room and be in their presence, because the first thing we need to make sure that you have their attention. So go into the room. I want you to make eye contact with your child, and sometimes even physical contact. So you might need, like if they have earphones in or headphones or whatever, or they're engrossed in a game, you might need to like put their hand on their shoulder or something like that to get their attention. They can't do what you want them to do if you don't have their attention. The second one, eliminate distractions. So tell them to turn off what they're playing, or turn off their pause, or do whatever, turn off, pause, whatever it is that they are doing. You want to eliminate distractions. You don't want to be competing against something else. And if they try to be like, oh, just keep talking, I can play at the same time. No, they can't. We don't multitask well. I get it. Like there's all the research of women multitask better than men. Yes, that's true. But humans in general, we don't multitask well. So eliminate distractions. Number 3, give the command in as few words as possible. So it should look like something like this. Hey, I need you to clean up or not even I need you to clean up. No, get rid of that. Clean up your bedroom. We're not asking. The reason why we are not asking, because in the hierarchy of families, your child should be below you, and you tell people that are below you in power to do things. People at the same level as you, like your spouse, you ask them to do things. But because here's the thing, if you ask your child to do something, they can say no, because they don't really want to do what you want them to do. They want to continue doing whatever it is that they are doing. So if they don't have a choice in the matter, command them. Don't ask them. And you can obviously say please and thank you and those kind of things, but we are not asking. We are telling. We are commanding, because we, as the parents, authority figures. Next, last, and then be willing to negotiate if they ask appropriately. So if they're like, hey, can I do this in 5 minutes? Then yes. If they asked it appropriately, that by all means. Oh, here's another part of the steps. So like go into the room, make eye contact, eliminate distractions, give the command. When you are giving a command, tell them a deadline, because if you don't give them a deadline, they can just think that they can do it whenever. Say like, hey, before dinner, you need to have your room cleaned. Hey, in the next 10 minutes, I need you to do this, so that you're giving them a little bit of transition time and you're allowing them to practice some of their initiative. But at the end of the day, you still want this to be done when you want them to be done. So tell them when it needs to be done. And then the last step is praise them and thank them. That's where the warm and fuzzies come in. So we have these high expectations. You're telling them what you want them to do at the standard that you want them to do it at, by the time that you want them to do it at, but then you're coming in with those warm and fuzzies by saying please and thank you. Now that's ideal. So, and the reason why we want to do a lot of these things is because how many times have you yelled a command and you're in another room like, hey, Joey, put away your toys. And they didn't hear you because they're engrossed in something else. And then then when you yell at them over and over again, they then get angry and aggressive and hostile because you just disrupted something that they were enjoying doing. Do you like to be disrupted when you're doing something that you enjoy doing? No, neither does your kid. So don't do it to them. So that's why it's important to go to the room that they are in, eliminate distractions, make eye contact, and then give them that command. And so and you don't know what they're doing. Like so being able to see them by going to that room is huge things. It's going to reduce your frustrations, and it's going to get you to get your child to do what you want them to do the first time. It's glorious, let me tell you. Now, all right, if they don't do what you want them to do by the deadline, we're going to use logical consequences as a way to modify this behavior, to change this behavior so that in the future, they do what you want them to do on the first try. So the 4 R's of logical consequences are relatable, respectful, revealed in advance, and reasonable. So they don't do it, so now they're going to get a logical consequence. So relatable means that it should relate to the behavior. So if it's folding laundry, well then the consequence should be something along the lines of laundry or listening better, those kind of things. That's the behavior. I guess listening is the behavior that we were trying to get them to do. So then it's like the over the top, like, right? You're not going to criticize them. So it's respectful. You're not going to criticize. You're not going to name call. You're going to reveal in advance, like, hey, when you're commanding them, extra parenting points if you do this. Hey, I want you to put away your toys in the next 5 minutes. If you don't, you're going to have 10 minutes of cleanup to do. Okay, so you're going to reveal the consequence in advance, and it should be reasonable. It shouldn't be outrageous. It's like, hey, you don't get this for 30 minutes. Hey, you don't get this for the rest of the night. It shouldn't be like you have your phone taken away for the next month. That doesn't work. Unreasonable expectations does not work. Now, here's if they argue, this is what the logical consequence is. Double the amount of time the activity, the chore, or what you want them to do would have taken. I have done this with countless clients, and it works like a charm. The client, if you just double, like, hey, this is going to take 5 minutes. Now you have to do chores around the house for 10 minutes. Next time, they're going to think about arguing with you, and they're just going to do the task at hand, because a lot of the time, teens especially are going to argue longer than the task would have taken. And then they realize, like, oh, I could have just gotten back to what I was doing had I just stopped, done the task, and then got back to it without arguing. Now, if they don't do it by the deadline, the next time they lose the privilege of the deadline. So they have to stop what they're doing right then and there and do it immediately. They don't get 5 minutes. They don't get 10 minutes. So who cares if they negotiate? No, you've lost that privilege. Or another thing is they don't get access to their privileges. So you have to do this thing for the next week. You have to do your chores for the next week before you get any of your privileges. Now, here's the other thing. If they don't do it to your standard, if they're not meeting the expectation, so like the bathroom, right? Like you want them to clean the bathroom, but they didn't clean the bathroom to your standard. The first thing is to make sure you know what's expected of them. They know what's expected of them. What do they know, legitimately know what a clean bathroom looks like? If they don't, you're going to want to work with them and do maybe the tell, show, do method. So you tell them what's expected of them. You show them how, at what level the bathroom should be cleaned at, and then you have them do it and you give them constructive feedback, and it's immediate. And you have them do it again, and that's where you bring in the tell, show, do. So this is how you get your child to listen to you on the first try. You go into the room, you make eye contact, you eliminate distractions, you give them the command, no, we are not asking them. You're willing to negotiate as long as they're negotiating appropriately. You're telling them when it needs to be done, and then after they've done it to your standards, you are praising and thanking them. That's how we get kids to do what we want them to do on the first try. And by doing this, it's going to be a lot less frustration for you. It's going to be a lot less frustration for the kids, because you guys are all getting to do what you want to do for at least 30 minutes a day. That's what I advocate for, because it helps with our mental health. And by doing this, we are going to be reducing and throat punching that mental health crisis. Let's go.